So too much technology can be a bad thing in some circumstances. So let's start by looking at where all the digital noise is coming from. I'm very concerned about the way businesses are implementing technology tools, which is often called organizational drag. We need to think more holistically to reduce the drag and improve company culture and morale. I'll provide some tips on how to reduce the digital noise in both your personal and your professional life. First, I'd like to talk about where is all the noise coming from. And before we blame everything on our smartphone, let's take a deeper look at our digital world. How many of you use at least 2 email accounts? How many of you use at least 3 chatting or instant messaging? It could be Facebook messaging, it could be texting, it could be WhatsApp, right? So, and how many of you are using social media tools like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat? And in the office, how many of you are using at least 1 or 2 customer relationship apps like Salesforce, Infusionsoft, or Chime? We're also often using at least 3 collaboration tools at work like Chatter, Slack, Wikipages, Confluence, SharePoint, Box folders. You get the idea. Many of us are also using Perforce, Jira, eTrack, and other specific tools to get your specific job done. How many of you could no longer ask human resources to do something for you? Instead, you're required to go to the human resources application and learn how to use it to submit any human resource changes. You're no longer able to hand your expense reports to somebody or your receipts to someone and ask them to complete your expense report. You are expected to understand and use Concur and other tools. How many of you have to deal with travel expense reports dealing with currency conversions inside of Concur? It's a nightmare. It takes a lot of my time to figure out those small nuances in these apps. So at my job, I work at Symantec. It's a large company. We have 10,000 employees in many different countries. And we constantly go through mergers and acquisitions. So what happens is when we acquire another company, they now have their set of tools that they're using, and we have our set of tools that we're using. And if you don't merge them quickly, we now have 2 silos. And when those 2 silos are trying to communicate with each other, it becomes very complex and very difficult. So the recommendation is that you integrate mergers as fast as you can. Oftentimes the mindset was, we'll acquire them, but we'll let them continue to do business the way they're doing business. We don't want to disrupt the business. But when you do that, you make the infrastructure too complex for the employees to get their daily jobs done. And that's part of organizational drag. How about another place where it shows up is in online shopping. So I do a lot of online shopping. I don't know about here in Tunisia how much is happening, but in the United States it is the end all. A lot of the brick and mortar stores are closing down as more online shopping is happening. So from there I probably have at least 4 or 5 other tools and apps that I'm using. If we add these all up, for myself, I know I'm using at least 50 different tools and applications. And you may be using at least 30 to 50 or 60 yourself. This is a lot of content for us to remember how to use. And at least 20 of these are related to your jobs. So in your work environment, you are expected to understand and use all of these technologies. We consider this organizational drag. So what happens when you go to work and you start checking your email, and then you have to submit an expense report, and then you have to buy an airline ticket, and then you have to use a tool to make conference room reservations, and another tool to do sending your emails, another tool to track issues at work, another tool to talk to your boss, another tool to talk to your customer. Do you feel the stress yet? Are we getting a little bit addicted? Do you need to check your phone right now? You've gone 1 hour without checking.
Oh, we're checking.
You're checking. So this is the digital stress. This is digital noise, and this is what we mean by it. So first what we're going to do is look at the easy one, email. Let's take a look. On average, you're looking at over 300 emails a week, and I would suspect if you're in technology like myself that this number is probably double. If you include all of the work-related chat and IM that's happening as well. So at least double that. We are in the habit now of checking our emails not 36 minutes per day, 36 times per day, but 36 times per hour. 36 times per hour we are stopping what we're doing, checking emails, and then going back to work. That means 16 minutes of every hour our brain is trying to refocus and bring ourselves back to what we're working on. This is a very bad habit, and oftentimes it comes from companies having the culture of you need to be in email all the time. You need to respond to emails immediately. That is a leadership culture environment that can be changed, that can be reduced. The expectations of how often and how fast you respond to emails, which will actually increase productivity and decrease organizational drag. So one of the things that you can do here, if you're the boss, do not copy everyone. One of the reasons why we have a tremendously high volume of emails is because some cultures have started to implement everybody's on copy of every email. And it's interesting, every time we do a merger and an acquisition and I start working with new teammates that are from another company, we can tell right away the differences between the cultures. At Symantec, we try very hard to keep the email volume down. And the ways you do that is only put on copy those who need to be involved in the discussion. You do not need to invite the entire team to hear this long email conversation happening. Other cultures or other teams and other companies have the culture of, I'm afraid I'm going to get in trouble. My boss wants to see everything I'm doing. Therefore, everybody's on copy of every email, and the amount of email is triple or 4 times what it should be. This is organizational drag. You have the power to change that and reduce that. You don't need to be on copy. So if you're the boss, you can change the email policy in your environment. You can trust your employees that they are doing their job. You can ask your employees for 1 email a week that has a summary of the activities that they're working on and the status of those activities. Your employees will contact you when they need you. You do not need to be on copy, and you can actually help improve their productivity by reducing the amount of emails that everybody is copying each other on. Another good tip is to turn off email notifications. Do not have the little pop-up on your screen that's telling you every time an email is dropping in. This is very distracting, and you lose focus on what you're working on. So what I do is I may have my email open, but I will open up the other document that I'm working on. Maybe it's PowerPoint, maybe it's Excel, and open it full screen to cover the inbox. So I don't see the mail, and I don't have any notifications on. This allows me to concentrate for, imagine, a whole hour on one project without checking emails at all during an hour or 2, so I can focus. And then when I'm done working on tasks, I can go look at emails. I can do emails for 15 or 20 minutes and then ignore email for an hour or 2 and then work on my tasks. This really increases your productivity. So another thing I've noticed that a lot of people are starting to use text messaging, WhatsApp, and other chatter tools to do business. Those tools were made for very quick, short questions. They were not made to type in paragraphs of information and to do business. You lose a lot of information when you have the culture of using texting tools to make business decisions. Now it's very hard to find that content when you need it. So I recommend transitioning to one collaboration tool. It could be a wiki page, it could be Slack, it could be Confluence, but you actually have your conversations on one collaboration tool and you document decisions made. One of the biggest places where we waste time is rehashing a decision we all made last week in the meeting. And then 2 weeks later, somebody who wasn't in the meeting wants to know what the decision was. And then we start this thread all over again, and we have that conversation all over. And so, or a month later, you're trying to remember what was the decision from that other meeting or on that topic. Have one collaboration tool that everyone uses. It's the team page, and you have a section that says decisions made. And when you have key decisions made, you just start dropping them in there. And you start training your teams to go to that page to get team information. Stop losing that data down inside of text messages or in long email threads. Have somebody that's usually the program manager who's responsible for tracking that data and getting it onto your team page. You will save a lot of time repeating the same conversations over and over or trying to find data that's been lost inside of your tools.